What's going on, guys? How you guys doing? This is my second attempt making this video. My other camera was just driving me crazy, so I had to just swap things out. Well, anyways, yeah, someone reached out on the group chat talking about color grading. So I just thought, why don't I even show how I usually approach my color grading? So I went on Storyblog, which you can go yourself, and just downloaded some random footages here. You can download the previews though. You have to sign up for you to have the free access. So anyways, I'm gonna do this in Premiere Pro because that's the software that I normally would use. So I have 3 clips that I downloaded from the website. That's 1, this is 2, and this is the 3rd one. So for this one, so normally the way I do my color grading is, first of all, you want to make sure you color correct. Actually that should be for a different video, but anyways, always make sure you color correct your footages. If you have a long video, like you have series of footages from, say, maybe an event, and you want everything to be in one video, so make sure you color correct them. And color correcting means that you're making sure all the yellows are like the same, all the whites are the same, kind of just tweaking things around to make sure all your footages look alike. Then you add a new layer where you now start to color grade. So the color grading process is where you now add more of the style that you want to add to your final product. But since this tutorial is more for color grading, let's dive into it. So what you want to do is, once you have your footage, you have like different work area. Just so you know, there's color as well, where it will give you to your right here the panel where you can do your color grading. But for the sake of those of you that might not see your workspaces, what you want to do is come here to your effects and type Lumetri color. So Lumetri color, make sure you're selecting the video and just double click, and you see the Lumetri color right here. Then you can start doing your edits. But usually I like to just go and change my workspace to color, so that way I have the Lumetri color on the side here. It's just easier that way. So now that we have the Lumetri color to the side, so before you begin, just click on, you see Lumetri color here, and you will see all these panels. In case you do not have it, just right click on it. You can turn on anyone that you want right here. They're just panels that will help you with your color grading process. Usually I just like to work on my waveform, or this right here, I think is the vector scope of, to be honest with you, like I said, I'm not a pro at it, but it's kind of like the 3 that I tend to work with. But yeah, so what's going on here is you see where you have 100 and you see 0 right here. So what 0 means is your shadows, and what 100 means is your highlights. So highlights are the brightest. Sorry, I live downtown, so it gets crazy noisy, so you guys should just please bear with me with the sound. So yeah, your highlight is the brightest areas in your footages, and your shadows is the darkest areas in your footages. And you have this in the middle, it's called the midtones. So what you want to do is you want to kind of balance everything out. Make sure your highlights are not too bright, and make sure your shadows are not too dark. Anyways, I'll give you guys one thing that you make sure you don't do is make sure this 100 all your details doesn't go too much into the 100 where it's all flat, because then it's called clipping, where it's like, so for example, you have a sky, you see where some skies you're not able to see any information from the video, so it means that your highlight is like clipping. Or even on a skin where you can now see the texture of the face anymore, so you want to make sure you avoid that. So a quick test that I could do right here is if I go to my curves, if I bump the highlight to the highest, you can see it's all like 100, so it's like flat out, so it's like totally clipped out. And if I go the opposite, it's all my shadows are like out. So you want to make sure you avoid that too. I double click so I get my footing back. So whenever you see the white balance, you want to make sure it's corrected. So what that means is, like, say maybe you shot outdoors and your camera settings is set to like an interior white balance, you will see that it won't match up. So this is where more of the temperature, right? So say maybe you shot outdoor and your footage looks like this. This you get more of like indoor, right? So you want to change your white balance and look for anything that is white in your footage and just click on it. So you see it now, it sets the white balance correctly. And sometimes too, if it's too orangey or whatnot, you can do the same thing. Just look for something white in your footage, it will totally correct it for you. So that's that. So tint is just like you adding some weird ass colors to your footage. I mean, obviously you don't want that. Exposure is just you pretty much adding more light or making your footage brighter. As you can see here, you want to be careful with exposure though. Very tricky one. Contrast is more of like, say you have your footage is pretty flat and you want it to have more contrast, you can increase the contrast. As you can see, you're trying to get a lot of shadows, like deeper shadows like that. And if you go the other way around, it will make your image more flat, so to speak. So usually I'm a big fan of contrast, so I'll add a little bit of contrast. Highlight, so it's pretty much the bright, the brightest side of your footage. So if I increase the highlight, it would kind of brighten the brightest sides in the image, and if I reduce it, it will darken it. So for this footage, I think we're fine, or maybe we'll increase it just a little touch. And for the shadows, pretty much the opposite. Okay, so you want to just drag it down a little, just a little. And for the white and black, honestly, for me, I feel like they pretty much do the same thing with the shadows and highlights, but still you want to make sure that your white, if you increase it, just once you have this waveform touching the white just a little bit, you should be fine with that. And your shadows, you do the same thing. You see right now it's already touching on the 100, but I like to put it down a little bit more. So we'll just take it down a little bit more. I mean, you're definitely seeing what is going on. It's not like you're not seeing this not to know what is happening in your footage. So let's leave that. So saturation most will give like those punchy colors. Say for example, and that's why I chose this footage here, because it has so many different shades of colors. So if I pump the saturation, you can see like the yellow, you can see like the red, you can see everything, like the color, you're making the color like a lot richer, like you're pumping out, but I just wanted to demonstrate that, but that's not what we're trying to do. And if you take your saturation the opposite way, you're gonna end up with a black and white image, so you don't want that. So for creative, I'm sure you guys have heard lots about actually a few of you have reached out to me asking me about sending them LUTs, and I can tell you right now, as much as I've tried to get into LUTs, I just haven't really maybe because I just don't really wanna, like, I don't know, I just have this thing about getting into it. I just like to do my grading just the way I want it. Like I said, I'm not like a professional color person, but I kind of like the vibe that I go for. I don't know my style yet, so to speak, so I just try to like, you know, mess around a lot. But yeah, so lots, this is where you can add like different lots. Say maybe someone gave you a lot, this is where you browse to go look for where the image is, sorry, the file, the lot file is, and you can import it. And once you add your lot, you can add like different, you can reduce the intensity, you can increase it, you can increase the saturation, vibrance, and you know, all that good stuff. But like I said, I'll leave creative there. So let's go to curves. So with curves, this is one tool for color grading that even just using only your curves, you'll get so much, like just watch this. So what I normally do is I like to increase the bright side just a little touch, then the dark side I just darken it just a little though, just a little. I don't want it to be too much. Okay, reduce the, and mind you, you're also able to change, like mess with the red. Say maybe you want to take out the reds from the footage, you can do that here. You can mess with the green, you know, you can mess with the blue, you know, and so on. But yeah, I think I like that. So usually, I'm sure you guys have heard of like the S curves, because it's mainly like you have your highlights in a good range and your shadows in a good range, and your midtones, you're leaving them exactly where they are. So now let's go to hue and saturation. And mind you, I could turn off the Lumetri color and see where we started from and where we are now. You can see that. So for the hues, these I don't really mess with them so much, just because, man, it's just crazy. But anyways, what you can do is with the hue versus saturation. So say maybe you want to increase the greens. Usually, to make it easier on you, if you don't know where to pick, just come to the color picker here and pick whatever color that you want. So I want this like green, right? Click it. So this is the colors that it sees. Then I can adjust it to make it more punchy. You can see that. If I turn it off, you can see the difference. And I can also desaturate it however I want. So this is another way to have, you see those kind of footages where you see one element or one character in the footage is like completely, you know, black and white, and every other thing has color to it. So this is where you can get to do that too. And the hue versus hue, so like I said, saturation is you want your color to be more punchy, but the hue is the how do I say this? Hue is when you want to change the color of a selected color, if that makes sense. So I'll demonstrate. So say we want to change the color of this right now, of this yellow / orange. We'll click the color picker. So we've clicked it, as you can see here. So now we want to change the color, right? You can see, although it's affecting it so much just because there's a lot of like yellow orange in this footage, but you get the idea. If I wanted to change it, just, you know, just like that. We could try, let me see another color there. Okay, let's try this blue, because there's not much blue in this footage. So you can see how the blue is changing color like that. So that's pretty much it with that. I won't really mess with all hue versus lumen stuff, because I genuinely don't really use them. So let's close that. Let's go to color wheel. So for those of you that love LUTs, this is pretty much where you can create your own style. So you can mess with the shadows. You can mess with the shadows. Say maybe you change your shadow to like have more on the blue. Then your midtones, you want to go like in a different, color wheel. Then your highlights, you can change that. You can just mess around to find the style that you want, and if you see where we're coming from and see where we are now, it's a huge difference. We can always turn off the color wheel, and there's also HSL, secondary color. This pretty much helps with, I don't want to go into this so much because I've not really mastered it myself, so I'll leave that for now. Vignette, I'm sure most of you know what vignette is. You can add as much as you want, and you can spread it out. You can make it all round or like less round. You can feather it out, and really that's just it with color grading. Let us do the same thing that we've done with our footage with this one, and I like this one because it has a lot of contrast. So what I want to do is just go to we don't need to adjust the temperature, we don't need to adjust the exposure. I think that's fine. Like I said, I'm big on contrast, so I increase the contrast a little. Highlight, I think it's good enough, but I mean, why not? Then the shadows, because it's black already, but if you want to make it darker, we can reduce the shadows a little. Now mind you, don't forget you're looking at here this is a good example. So you can see how my zero is like almost everything is dark. If I take it all the way dark, it's gonna be like crazy dark in the darkest shadow, the shadow areas. And if I increase the whites, you can see like what really like even just those two adjustments alone. Let's see the difference. We've like gotten so much detail. So we can go to the curves and do what we did earlier. Like look at that, and this is not even adding so much to it. Then we can go to the hue. I'll pick the red, and if I increase that, oh my god, look at how red that is. So and we can desaturate all the red. So like this is literally how you can do this. I'll just Command Z to reset it, and if you want to reset everything, just double click on where you pinched it. Let's try the hue versus hue. Let's pick it. We'll pick the red again. So say we want to change the red to a different color, so you can see like how cool is that. So that's really with color grading, my friends. And if you guys have more questions, feel free. You already know the drill. Just holla at your boy. And that's pretty much it for me. I'll catch you guys in the next video.